Final weekend of the regular season is here. We're going to spend some time talking about the game that we will be at, not just because it's on NBC and Peacock. This is the game of the week. This is the game of the year. This is the game that sets the playoff tree at the very top in the NFC. The winner has the inside track to the Super Bowl. The loser has to go on the road in the postseason as the 5 seed. Might only play one road game depending upon what the other wild cards do, but still, no bye week. Go on the road. 3 wins necessary to get to the Super Bowl. What's your first big picture impression of this game?
Well, the first thing I thought about, Mike, as you're talking right now, is I thought it was a mistake for the Lions to play last week. You know, you get a gift, an opportunity to rest your guys. I know you want to try to build that mental toughness, Dan Campbell, but at the end of the day, man, it's 17, 18 weeks. That's a long football season. And you have an opportunity to rest your guys, allow them to recover mentally, emotionally, and physically, and then get ready for this game. To me, it shows that Dan Campbell said, look, we're going to win week 18 game. We know we're going to win that. That's going to give us an opportunity to rest. We need to win this week 17 game. And I thought I was kind of looking at that sideways, Mike, because I didn't necessarily agree with it.
You know, it's the holidays, and this is a weird structure of the holiday weeks because it still kind of feels like we're in that glow. It's been a week and a half. I've had a little alcohol over the last week and a half. I might not be remembering things as sharply as I would at a normal time of the year. And maybe you just have a twin brother. I don't know. Maybe you had a twin that did the show last week. I vaguely recall, and it's a little more than vaguely, that I said they should rest on Monday night. And the guy on the other side of the screen said, in so many words, you're crazy for even suggesting it. Am I wrong? It's possible I'm wrong.
I think you're wrong, Mike. I think you're wrong because I'm one of those guys where if you don't have a bye and you have an opportunity during the regular season to let your guys go and rest, I mean, the rest is huge. I mean, you think about the way they've been beat up on defense, how many guys they lost, and just, you know, the pressure offensively. They feel like offensively their mindset is, hey, we have to score every single time we get the football. And if you give your guys an opportunity to rest, why would you go on a road last week, play your guys, then come back? You come back, Tuesday morning, you're tired, you don't really recover till like Thursday, you're feeling good maybe on Friday, and then in 2 days, you have to rely on that crowd at the Dome to get you energized because that trip has taken so much out of you. I understand, listen, I'm not saying he's wrong because he reminds me of Coach Belichick. Coach Belichick will do the same thing. He will keep pushing, building that mental toughness and building that confidence. But I'm with you, Mike, and I know you know, last week you probably, like you said, you had some drinks, you probably forgot, but I'm one of those guys where I support rest.
And, you know, you mentioned Coach Belichick. He was on his Let's Go podcast this week talking about this dynamic of resting guys and why he didn't do it. And he said one of the problems is you have to go to your team and you have to say, okay, you're important enough that you're not going to play. You're playing. You're cannon fodder. Get your ass out there. We don't need you for the playoffs. You get to play in the meaningless game. And look, I agree with what you're saying for one very big reason. Vikings played late Sunday afternoon at home. Lions play Monday night in California, a couple thousand miles away from Detroit. Play that game late, fly home. The Vikings had more than 30 hours of extra prep time for this game. 30 hours.
That's
and
huge.
Their bodies have more than 30 hours of rest. And what I think this will do to Dan Campbell, I said this earlier in the week, and I'm curious to see what your reaction is. The fact that they came out of it unscathed, he will view that as validation for everything he does. So it's going to be all out, fourth down, trick plays. We're going to keep doing what we've always done because we did that the Monday night game at San Francisco, and it worked. So that's the certificate I need to keep doing everything exactly the way I do it. And it caught up to him last year in the second half of the NFC Championship. And my concern for the Lions is it's going to catch up to him again at some point between now and the Super Bowl when the confetti falls?
Dan Campbell is not going to change who he is. He is who he is. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to be tough. In those critical moments of the game, he feels like his team is prepared. He feels like they're more mentally tough than everybody else. They're going to do what they have to do, and he's going to continue to coach and be aggressive, go for it on fourth down. Like you talked about the trick plays. That's just who he is. His team believes in him. And why would he change, Mike? Why would he change? This is why guys want to come to Detroit and play for Dan Campbell. Zadarius Smith talked about him and how much he enjoys playing for Dan Campbell. I mean, I like what he's doing. I just wish they would have took that extra opportunity to get rest. It's a long, long season. This is a very physical offense. This is a very physical defense. They play hard. They travel a lot. And if you get a chance to get Jahmyr Gibbs and those guys an opportunity to rest, and let me just say this, the league's not fair. I don't get paid. I didn't get paid the same amount of money as Tom Brady got paid. So Tom was more important than me. I understood that he's the quarterback. So everybody has to fall in line to where they belong. But at the end of the day, Dan Campbell has the attention of those players, man. And I can't wait. This should be a good one.
I wonder if the players would have felt differently about Dan Campbell if all of a sudden he had changed. I think that's part of what you're saying. They're attracted to the way he is. If all of a sudden he changes, he loses that thing that makes him such a compelling figure to play for. And players might be confused, like, what happened to Coach? Is he getting soft? Is he getting scared? He's not himself. Something's wrong. Is he sick?
Yeah, absolutely. And the players are always looking at everything. And people don't think the players are very observant. They look at everything. They watch the coach's attitude. They watch how the coach comes up and speak. And for me, man, I look at Jared Goff. This is really a perfect opportunity for him, Mike. I mean, he's got everything that he wanted on the offensive side of the ball. Excellent offensive line. And I'm going to tell you something. As much as I love their run game with both the running backs, I'm really a big fan of Jahmyr Gibbs getting these extra reps. I mean, Mike, you ask most guys, and I've asked, who would you rather tackle? Who would you rather see on the field? They would rather see David Montgomery on the field as opposed to Jahmyr Gibbs because he's so dangerous. David Montgomery is a really good back. Jahmyr Gibbs is a special back. Anytime he gets the ball, Mike, he can hit it 40, 50 yards. We've seen his speed, the vision, the patience, everything. He's one of the top backs in the National Football League. So I actually think their offense gets better with Jahmyr Gibbs in the game because he's so dangerous.
It's amazing when you think about it, the exercise of restraint that the Lions use when both guys are healthy. That's not typical Dan Campbell. You would think that his approach would be best guy plays, second best guy backs him up. Jahmyr Gibbs is the best guy. Get him out there. Keep feeding him. Keep feeding him. If he gets injured, we go with David Montgomery. When he's healthy, we go with Jahmyr Gibbs. That would seem to be the Dan Campbell approach. But when they're both healthy, they both get their fair share. But Jahmyr Gibbs, I agree with you. If he was one of those workhorse, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, he'd be up in that conversation with those guys right now. He'd have numbers that would rival them. I know before the season, Amon-Ra St. Brown told Jahmyr Gibbs, if you have more than 1,000 rushing and 1,000 receiving yards this season, something only 3 players have ever done in the history of the NFL, but if you do that, I'll buy you whatever you want. Well, okay, if David Montgomery's not around, you're going to get it. But with David Montgomery, you're not getting 1,000 and 1,000. It's not going to happen. There aren't enough opportunities. But now we're seeing what he can do with the opportunities. You're right. It actually, as long as Jahmyr Gibbs is healthy, it's actually a detriment to the Lions to play both of them. They're better off in this playoff run just going all out and all in with Jahmyr Gibbs. And you would think they would. Remember when they drafted him 12th overall, the same year Bijan Robinson was drafted in the top 10 by the Falcons. We were like, they traded up for Jahmyr Gibbs. Everybody was all over Bijan Robinson. Nobody was thinking about Gibbs. So far, Gibbs is the better guy.
I had an opportunity to watch Jahmyr Gibbs at play in Alabama, and I was a big Alabama fan, and I said, this kid is special. Anytime he touched the ball, he was just different. He moved faster. Like I talked about, really the intangibles, the things like just the vision and the patience and just the confidence in which he run with. And, you know, he's not a guy that's going to get up and beat his chest and say, look at me, look at me. He just gets back to the huddle. He does his thing. And I tell you, Mike, he's a tremendous back. And just having talked to some defensive players, and they say, hey, we love when they rotate those guys because, we respect David Montgomery, but he's not as hard to tackle. Yeah, he's a bigger, stronger guy, but we can get our hands on him. Jahmyr Gibbs, we're afraid when he comes in the game because at any point in time, he touches the ball, we may not even touch him.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.